Welcome to another episode of Waves of Wisdom. Waves of Wisdom is the podcast where we bring you the insights and wisdom from lifelong learners, thought leaders, and experts from different industries, and how they made their life unretirable is what we are discussing in this series. Today is a special episode, and I'm honored to have someone who has been a role model for continuous learning and shaping the education industry in the Maldives. He was a former Director General at Ministry of Education, as well as he was in charge of Maldives Accreditation Board, where he brought in tremendous change, which shaped the current reality of the Maldives education industry. Not only that, he is currently well known across Maldives and the globe for someone who shaped and modernized the higher education industry in the Maldives. He is the rector of Villa College, Dr. Anwar. Welcome to the show, Dr. Anwar.
Thank you very much, for having me on this program. I am really honored to be a Maldivian on this program, on this episode.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure and honor to have you on this platform. In fact, you are right. You are the first Maldivian to appear on my podcast, and it is going to be our 30th episode. And it gives me immense pleasure because I have seen how Villa College has come up. I have also had the opportunity to work very closely with Villa College
Indeed.
in different projects. It is really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, yes, once again.
Let's start with from your childhood. You're actually from Adwetol, Midu, right?
That's right.
From the south of Maldives. And that was a time, I believe you grew up the time when we were under the British protectorate, right?
Yes.
How was life back then?
Thank you. As I said, now I must remind myself, first of all, as usual, my humble and modest background. I come from, as you said, one of the southernmost islands of the Maldives, Midu in Adwetol. Midu is actually known for religious scholars, boat builders, carpenters, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, several trades people practice in Midu, well known for their scholarship, perhaps most of all. And my father was a fisherman to begin with, and later on he became an electrician in Addu Gun, which was a British Air Force in Addu. That's where he was the electrician. However, I would emphasize that my father loved education. He could speak, he could understand Arabic. More importantly, he can speak fluently Urdu, Sinhalese, and also he can understand a little bit of English. So he loved education, and he wanted his children, he wanted to give the best of education available to his children. I'm his eldest son, and then he sent all his sons to Malay for education. That's where I come from. But then he realized that what was available in Addu, the education, is not good enough for his son. He has a strong desire for a better education. So that's how he thought. He discussed this with one of my relatives, my mother's cousin, Mr. Bagir, and then Bagir agreed to take me to Malay. That is how I came to Malay for education, primary education to begin with. So Bagir is the one who brought me to Malay. And I stayed at, again, a long relative, my grandfather's cousin, son, Ali Najib. I stayed with Ali Najib. The house is Nedunge. Ali Najib was an extraordinary person. He was the only photographer those days.
Yes.
Those days you take pictures, you film, you wash it, and then print the photos, print. That is how it was done those days.
And it's in black and white.
It was in black and white to begin with. Later on, he changed to color pictures as well. To begin with, when I came to Malay, it was black and white, but later on, it was color photo. But he, as he said, he's a man of several skills. He could do work on blacksmith, like blacksmith's work and carpentry work. He could do, and he also actually he introduced innovative fishing methods also. And he's the only man. He's one of those few people who knew Urdu his script. More importantly, he is a man of several ideas, and then what fascinated me was his relationship with people.
When you said that, one of my childhood memories goes back with Ali Najib.
Ali Najib, yes,
Because he
He's
is
a
actually a
long
relative of my maternal grandma.
That's
And
right.
he came to one of my most childhood photos were actually taken by him. I
By
still
him.
have it.
That's him. But then I must say that my habits, some of my habits, my character, my personality, there is so much my role model.
Yeah.
So I owe him so much for that. Then his relationship people from the atolls. You can't believe island leaders from different atolls. No, the Kudafari, Timarushi, Mahiwada, and so on. 10, 20 atoll leaders, island leaders, I would say, come to this house. They just come and then sit there. There is a special place. So it can be summed up as a informal gathering of island leaders. That is where I learned. Now, as a small boy, I used to hear the stories, life in the islands, their aspirations, the kind of education, the work they do, the fishing, the growing of crops, and so on. So that's where I began to listen. But I never had thought of working with them. But that's how it had. These people are almost not every day perhaps, but monthly, not purposely. Maybe 2 or 3 people at a time, maybe 4 or 5 people at a time. But that's the informal gathering of island leaders. They pass on their experience. And this experience has to be translated into wisdom.
Yes.
That is the wisdom that you acquire later on. Then that is important. Then Ali Najib actually got me to Majidia school with the help of one of his friends. Because those days, was not possible to get admission to Majid school.
Exactly.
And very hard.
Majidia is the
most
school
prestigious school in Male, for elites especially. For example, hardly anyone from the islands, but then only a few people only. But then later on, I think the government realized, and then some island students came to Armenia boarding, where people stayed in the boarding facilities. But I got admission to Majidia school. That was an immense opportunity for me. Not anyone can get, to Majidia. So that's about Majidia. And the Majidia, I must note, that was when the Maldives or the government started. We call in Maldives the English medium education. But it was the British colonial system of education which was in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
That is what was brought to Maldives. And then Sri Lankan principals and Sri Lankan teachers came to run these schools or manage these schools, to administer these schools. That is about Majidia. And that was a great opportunity, work with Male, people from Male, students from Male. Later on, they became leaders of this country. Then after that encounter I had an encounter with one of the gentlemen called Dominic. He was the principal and the owner of a very small private school in Male. I was in Majidia, I think secondary school. And this gentleman, Dominic, he asked me if I could come and teach in his school. I said, I'm in school. He said I could come in the afternoon and teach, because we had a school in the morning, Majidia, until 1 or 2 o'clock. And then he asked me, I could come in the evening, take classes. And then I was asked to teach a few subjects, English, maths, and DVA, and so on.
Yes.
I enjoy teaching there with some friends.
What's the name of that school?
The name of the school is Ulumia School.
Ulumia
School, and very small school, very poorly built, but a small school. Now, this is one. What is important here is that I was in Majidia, the prestigious school. Here, We have a small school, private school for again our children, Maldivian children, Maldivian students. The facility you can imagine, Majidia was super, Majidia and Aminia both schools. And this is again here, that is because not all children from Mali also could get admission to Majidia or Aminia school. That's why. So I can see the difference. This is very poorly built, very limited facility, or rather, no facilities with limited of facilities. If you may put it like that. Then I started teaching there. I enjoy my teaching at that time. That is when I started teaching.
You
And
say
then
that is where your passion for
yes, because
teaching.
there were the students, the children were from very disadvantaged. So you also not only the love for children, not only a love for education, but love for disadvantaged children. That was incredible. Then after that, when I completed my secondary school, I got an opportunity to go abroad. Not just when I say abroad, to India. I went to Mysore Regional College of Education for teacher training. That was a good experience. I could still imagine, see, after several years, that training was the basis, basis for one to develop. This is one, Mysore Regional College of Education, those days was called Regional College of Education, later on they changed to Regional Institute. But these colleges were administered or managed, were NCERT, that is National Council for NCERT Research and Training.
Right.
NCERT, National Center for Education, Research and Training. Later on, not at that time, later on I visited NCERT in New Delhi. It was a education factory like. Textbooks were made, written, made, printed. Teaching aids were produced, and various experts, different field, philosophers, trainers, and so on. This actually, I must mention, that was based on the philosophy at that time. Dr. Radhakrishnan, Dr. Zakir Hussain, and Tagore, Navendranath Tagore, and it is based on their philosophy and their teaching. That was incredible. There was education philosophy. The philosophy was very important, very critical, because it was based on enough philosophy. Philosophy was important. Then we were doing that. As for teaching, planning, preparation, assessment, and feedback, all this was part of it. And then, not only classroom teaching, but also we were expected to do agriculture, woodwork, and several art, craft, and
So
all
different
the
disciplines.
different. It's just for you to be part of education. Has to be part of primary school education. That is what is. That was the philosophy actually. Radhakrishnan.
So how that shaped to your ambition or your
At that time, I did not
later?
realize the importance of that training. But later on, I realized, but I tell you then, when we returned, we were actually expected to be primary school teachers in Mali. Unfortunately, that did not happen because of a change of government in Mali. And so we were sent to private schools. And then actually what I did was, I didn't like the way we were treated. We were supposed to be teachers, primary teachers in government schools in Mali, but we were sent to private schools. At that time, I didn't like it, but later on, I kept on teaching there. Then I came to foreign ministry. I got an opportunity to work in the foreign ministry.
How that happened? Like a total different area.
My first government post was foreign ministry. Even before I went, immediately after school, whilst I was teaching in Lumia school also, I went to foreign ministry. I worked in foreign ministry. That was my first government assignment. That is how, and then later on, I worked with the Honorable Abdusattar Musa Didi. He was then the Minister of Finance, but later on, he This time when I was talking about when I got transferred to foreign ministry was again Abdul Sattar Musadid was as vice president of Maldives. He was in charge of foreign affairs, also looking after foreign. That is because he knew me very well. He asked me if I could work in foreign ministry. Then I thought this may be a good opportunity. Foreign ministry is an incredible place because you learn so much. Diplomatic language, diplomatic relationships, your etiquette, how you treat other people, how you look after other people. That was great. Again, I got an opportunity. I was in foreign ministry, and then actually I got an opportunity, incredible opportunity. I wouldn't say at that time I didn't realize it was an opportunity, but I faced to the reality of what I started. Honorable Zarir, I worked with Zarir for a brief period. One fine day, Mr. Zarir asked me if I could come as an authority. I couldn't believe. I said,
That's a totally different department.
I said, do you think I can be an authority?
And you must have been very young. Right?
Yes, I was only 24 years.
Oh.
Then I may still have been the youngest authority, I don't know. And he asked me, I said, Zarir, he is a very interesting person. So he said, hey, Anwar, would you like to become an authority? I said, would you give me that post? I'm ready. I said, I didn't realize that. I thought he was joking just because he knew me very closely. When you are in foreign affairs, you speak to the ministers, you find in order to get appointment with the visiting diplomats. So I said, and after 2 or 3 months later, my God, I got notice from the president's office that I've been appointed as the atoll chief of Savian Atoll, Miladum Mardolo Dekonobori, Arada Utturobori. And I was shocked. I never expected it. But, I was only 24 years, not mature enough to be the. But yes, that was an eye opener for me, to the life, to the world. I had to be in charge of some 7,000 people. I had to find out, I would make sure they have enough rice, flour, kerosene, basic items, and also a few other things.
What's the life back then in the islands?
It was very, very poor. Actually, the life was very, very, very low. I mean, the standard was very low, let me put it like.
But people must have been very happy.
When people, I wouldn't say they were happy in the sense, but they were not thinking of happiness, I would say.
All right.
Not many people were thinking of happiness as a need, but then people remain very quiet, doing fishing or doing their cultivation of crops, millet millet mainly, and corn, perhaps corn, millet, and so on. So that's and very poorly built houses. Very few houses were you can't even imagine the status then. Anyway, that was an eye opener. That gave me maturity.
Yeah.
For me, it was good to be able to see the world from a different angle, to be a leader. I was the leader of the community, Shavianeto. And then not only that, that was the time when cholera broke in this
in the country.
So I had to go to all the islands, see the people, talk to the people, make sure that their cleanliness was good enough, and working with them, with the normal people, you became part of them.
For the wells, because we use wells to drink.
Yeah, drinking water was from the wells. Fortunately, there were not many casualties from Chavineto because we were making sure that the cleanliness, the water was good enough for people to drink. Well water, as you said. That again gave me strength because I have worked with the people. We had very few casualties of cholera with it, and that was an experience. Yeah.
So then how you came back to education again?
After my position, after that episode, I didn't end very beautifully, but then nevertheless, I came to Male and got an opportunity to go to Edinburgh. That was the time. Again, it is an important period in the education of Maldives. UNICEF, UNESCO, and UNDP with the government, there was a project on which was called Community School Project, where schools were built, textbooks were produced, uh, teachers were trained, and school uh, principals or headmasters were trained. So this is for school headmastership in UK, because it was in UK, Edinburgh. I just thought maybe a good idea to get trained again, to go back uh, to education, my passion. But even during that time, although I was in foreign affairs, I was in, as I told you, I continued teaching one
All
form
right.
or another. So my teaching
So the passion, you kept the
yes,
passion going
it
alive,
didn't
right?
stop. Although
Yeah.
I was not working as a regular teacher at that time, I still continued. Even when I was in Shavineto,
Mhm.
we built a small school there, and then I was doing some help to that. And also mature people, they came for education again. And then that was a time when the government of Maldives introduced Latin. And again, I had to teach them the Latin, how to write and read Latin. So it was an interesting period anyway. After coming from the Shaviani Atoll, I got an opportunity to go to Mysore. Mysore, they announced for people who had initial training. So I was among those who had initial training. I went with them to a group of, I think about 8 people or so, to Mysore. One of our colleagues was from formal actually.
All right.
Yes, we no, Modi was in Mysore. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mustafa Lutfi is the one who was in Edinburgh. Edinburgh training. We had the initial basic training in Mysore. That was very good. And again, now you look at education from a different perspective,
And more
from the
developed.
Western
Yeah.
perspective. You could say the teaching, schools, and there was a time when community education, community schools, community adult education was very popular in Europe. And then as part of the training was good, English language teaching, school management, and community education, and also school attachments. So again, as part of the program, we had the opportunity of visiting industry to several places, interesting places. There we could see the developing industries, how they are emerging, and every Tuesday also we visited some important place in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Or even a little bit beyond Edinburgh. After returning from Edinburgh, I went to work as a headmaster, briefly to Velido first, then to Commando. I must say that was incredible. What I learned from Bristol, what I learned from Edinburgh, rather not Bristol, what I learned from Mysore and Edinburgh, I was able to practice in one of the islands, that is Commando. Shavianeto Education Center was called all-round education. We were without any pressure of examination. We were able to give all-round education where we got classroom teaching. We had sports for children. We had vocational skills, and then also cultural activities, cultural dances and things like that. Cultural activities.
You see, there's a disconnect between the education at that time and the education in last few decades, where people are more concentrating on the results of the students rather than actually the holistic education like you are talking about at that time. Maybe at that time you didn't have resources, you wanted to keep engaged. Was it the reason, or
No, you see, for me, it was because my desire to
yeah,
practice
what
what
you
we
learned?
learn
Yeah.
from Mysore and Edinburgh. Edinburgh Community Education. The Shavianeto Education Set I worked, it was a very beautiful setup. Khatib was the head. Then on the education side, I was in charge of school and administration. Kuda Khatib, Musa Ramiz was in charge. And it was a beautiful arrangement. So we worked together. Uh, so Khatib was the leader, Kuda Khatib, and then myself as the school principal or headmaster, we worked
For
together.
viewers, Khatib is
Yeah.
actually the island chief
Yes.
appointed by the president of Maldives or the Atoll's ministry in an island in the Maldives
That's
at
true.
those
That's
days.
true. Right. Then it was a nice. So what is interesting is it was so engaging. The children were engaged, the students, I mean, and the community was engaged. It was part of the community, not something which was put up there by the Ministry of Education. It didn't work like that
Mhm.
because of
that was say it is properly
Yes.
the community education
Yes.
access heart.
Then I was, after 2 years, people did not like, but then the Ministry of Education wanted me to come to Edinburgh. Edinburgh was a different challenge because there we had to bring up an island school to the level of Armenia and Majiria school in Mali. That was the then, you remember, I don't know if you knew about it or heard. Yes, well, you must have. At the end of grade 7, the children were expected to sit a national exam, which was called Gain a Junior School Certificate. And my interest was to bring these children up to that standard from very poorly, actually.
So basically, that was the highest you could study in
at
the school at that time?
At that time,
Up to
yes.
grade 7.
Now, if you want secondary education, you should go to Mali. And then I worked with some 32 children, and then people couldn't even believe, along with the children in Mali, Majidia, Armenia, about third of them, or rather more than third actually, in fact, out of 32, 24 students achieved the standard required for promotion to grade 8.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that was an incredible experience. And it was a challenge. That is how.
So that must have been an eye-opener for even policymakers, because at that time it was island kids are not good enough.
Not good enough. But then we had to prove it.
Yes.
Same examination. The school, Majidia, Armenia, Aito education or Hadal education, the students set for the same examination. You see, can you believe, out of 32, I was working with 32 children, 28 children got the required standard. So the Fushi people, initially they didn't like this school because they had their own school, and they were refusing to send their children to Ato Education Center.
So they had a community school.
Yes,
the
yes.
education center was built by the government.
By government. They didn't like, the people but later on, when this results came, they were, excited, and most of them sent their children to Mali. Many of them got admitted to Majidia and Armenia, and then some came to private schools.
Yeah. Any of the known figures?
Yeah, of course. One of them I can still remember, Environment. Amjad was one of them.
Okay.
And several of them. But then I would say, as talking about Commando, all of them with the all-round education, they became very responsible people and did pretty well in life, what they imagined. So without the pressure of examination, they were all-round education, and they became leaders. They became very responsible people. In fact, I hope to write about it. There was from Edafushi, working from Edafushi, after working there for again 3 years, I was asked, I requested, not that I requested, I was placed in a different school, so I didn't like the school, so I said, I requested the Minister of Education at the, now I have worked so hard, I don't want you to send me to then he said, okay, I know, I realize how much hard work you have done, so I will appoint you to Majidia School as vice principal.
Okay.
That is again incredible. This is again where I studied to begin with. I am the vice principal of that school, or assistant principal, senior assistant principal there, and assistant principal. And I had an opportunity to work with a very experienced principal, Mr. Samuel. And then because minister was...
Who was the minister?
Minister was Honorable Zahir Hussain. Yes, because he liked me, because he was in difficulty when I was placed in Edinburgh. So he was very pleased with me, my performance in Edinburgh. And then he promised a scholarship for me. So I had an opportunity to go to Bristol for master's degree. That is the education. Then after master's degree, there was about 2 years program, I came back and then started working in the Ministry of Education.
As the director. So what is during your time I have previously heard from you and from a number of others that during the time in education, was the time actually the education really spread across the islands, and you played a key role in driving that across the islands. How was that experience? How came
Yes,
about?
now the leaders in Male,
Yeah.
okay, the leaders of Male, let me put it like that, not to be very direct. The leaders in Male did not realize the importance of education for island kids. But then, very interesting happened at this time. Uh, it was called Universal Declaration of Education, UNESCO Declaration for Education for All. That was, I think, 80 in Thailand, Jontin, Thailand,
Yeah.
UNESCO conference. That conference was education for all. We were also signatory. Maldives was also signatory to this declaration. Because when I was in when we started working, I must tell you that it so happened we were working with a group of very enthusiastic young people. I was working. Well, I will mention few names: Shihab, Masih, Ahmed Abu Bakr, Ashraf, and then Said Ahmad.
Yeah.
We worked together for universalization of primary education in Maldives. But for that, with the authority of that declaration, we at that time the number of teachers in island was just barely, no, just to say there's a teacher. For every 60 students, one teacher
One
was,
teacher.
that was the target that time. That was the policy at that time. And then with the authority of that declaration, we tell, no, this is not good. We even island schools. I was in charge of island schools. Even island schools should have teachers as per teacher requirement. That is depending on the subjects, depending on number of classes that one takes, and so on. So finally, the government agreed to supply that. That is when we started. We had enough adequate teachers, but the quality of teachers may be different, but still we get adequate number of teachers for school. And another important thing happened at this time, that is the financing education for the island schools. Just not enough. Only an allowance was given by the Ministry of Education. Ministry of Education gave it depending on the number of students and also depending on the number of years they have been working, the years or age. And then again, we with the support of that declaration, UNESCO declaration for education for all was a turning point, I must say. That is how we were able to demand.
Child, I can remember there was a campaign going on
Yeah,
even in the
yes,
radio.
yes,
I
yes.
mean,
That is what. So we were able to make demands. Then with my colleagues, Ashraf and others, we submitted to the Ministry of Finance. There was, I can't remember exactly which year, but then must be somewhere 98 or 95, during 1995 or so. We submitted to the Ministry of Education requirement, financial requirement, budget requirement for everyone. With the help of our colleagues, we had a program. We did a programming budget for the first time in any of these places. And the minister, finance minister then, Mr. Arifil, he was fascinated by our presentation.
yeah.
And then we were able to prove, if say it is 2,000 rupiah for a student in Majidia, let's say 20 rupiah for a child in any of the other schools. And then, minister, the budget requirement we submitted, the minister accepted. And that was the first time that some reasonable amount of resources were provided to the island schools. Teachers and all the other requirements, just like any other school. And also at the same time, there were some government schools, education centers, key schools, just like Majidia. Just like Majidia or Armenia, any other school in Male, they could submit their budget requirement directly to the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
There was an incredible achievement for island schools. So these things happened, and was an impact. So education, I would say, I had to work for the disadvantaged people. Right from the beginning, I started from Nedunge and then Ulumia School and then working in the islands as an editor chief made a difference. I think we come to the last bit.
Yeah, so from there, you were transferred into higher education, right?
It was a political move.
I see.
Yes, yes. What happened was those days things happen. Now with all these developments, I became somewhat, I must say, quite popular with the people. So people knew me, people talk about me, and then some government officials probably did not like it. And then I was transferred to the Ministry of Higher Education, and I was put in charge of. I was in charge of Maldives. In those days, it was called
Accreditation board.
Maldives Accreditation Board,
Yeah.
MAB. I was put in charge of that. That is where I come to higher education. My idea about higher education. I never thought of higher education before that, but then I'm still fascinated about school education, but I never thought of secondary education, or rather, university education.
But that it's
That
incredible how you were able to turn around the qualification accreditation process and
they have,
also to
yes.
start off private colleges.
Yes, yeah, I'll tell
Yeah.
you the story.
Yeah.
Yes, I was transferred to the Ministry of Higher Education, but then I didn't work at the Ministry of Education. I was sent to Maldives Secretariat. Those days was in a kind of, it was a neglected place, but then they had an important function, that is every qualification, every certificate that is Maldivian receives or acquires, or they had to get MAB accreditation, and also not only the accreditation, they'll have to say, oh, this is degree, his master's degree, and say equivalency has to be established. Minister called me as I was appointed. Minister called me. Minister was at that time the former president. Minister called me and said, I get thousands and thousands of complaints that MAB is not holding their certificates. They are not giving it. They couldn't do it. Now it's almost 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Some people said, I want you to finish this, the whole pile of them, to do it I'll give you 1 month. So within 1 month, you got to do it. All the certificates have to be given to the people. So I worked day and night, and yes, you can't believe, we were able to, with the help of 2 staff, rather 3 staff, I was able to get it done within 2 weeks. The minister was very happy. I said, I said, when minister gave me that responsibility, I said, Minister, now I must have full authority to do this. Otherwise, I can't do it.
Yes.
If I had to come and ask, other officials, how much is it a degree or master's degree and so on? Is it the same level? The minister agreed and said, within 2 weeks, yes. Then when this was done, the minister said, you should not be you could still do maybe work, but you should now come and sit in the Ministry of Ministry at
Ministry
directly,
policy,
the
policy level, right?
main ministry. I was very happy. I was put there. Then there was a time, so we are coming to Villa College. But then before that, I must tell you, it was a time when APQN was formed, Asia Pacific Quality Network. With the grant aid they got from World Bank, grant aid, they were able to give support to people from third world,
Unretirable.
least developing countries. The first thing I did as the director or in charge of, what I did was become a member of APQN, Asia Pacific. That was the time when they got a grant, and then I was able to travel with the support of World, that assistance we were given. I was able to travel with the help of with their support to several conferences, several workshops, training workshops, seminars, in many countries, South region, and sometimes to European countries, or once or twice to European countries. So I get an opportunity I was introduced to tertiary education, I would say. China, Thailand, Vietnam also, Malaysia, France, and so on. So it was an eye-opener for me, and then I was exposed to what was happening in higher education.
Yeah.
And during that time, while I was working at the Ministry of Higher Education, Honorable Qasim Rahim called me one day and said, Anwar, I have an idea. I have been working on college. I have been working on a college, and then one of his employee was put in charge, and then he couldn't do it. Now it is more than 2 years that he has.
So they started that time.
No, not started at that time. He was trying. but the registration, the process was not happening actually. And then he asked me if I could. I had some experience, so of course, I can try this. I know me other people have submitted proposals,
Yes.
rather registration forms, but they have not been successful. They have not been successful. So that is where when our colleagues here, one of them was Nuha, Munnim, Ali Najib, Adil, and later Sadiq, and Mizna, Habba briefly. So we worked together as a team, first of all, to write the proposal. We wrote the proposal, huge paper, huge one. And then we submitted to the Department of Higher Education because I knew what was happening. I was also working in the Department of Higher Education. So, and they submitted it to President's Office for their approval. At that time, the first college has to be approved by President's Office. And then at that time, we discussed with chairman, and then we had a before the registration of college. Actually, we started with institutes of higher education, Villa Institute of Business Management, Villa Institute of Information Technology, Villa Institute of Education, so on.
Every discipline do you have?
Yeah, we had we had institute for that. And then these institutes, our plan was come as a college, the umbrella organization of college will come beyond that. Yeah. So these institutes should become faculties. That's what we decided.
And so that's what happened.
Yeah, that's sort of. Then it was difficult. They were not, we did not get much support at that time. But then with chairman, we had a meeting to inaugurate the institutes first. Yeah. And then the talk of the college was spoken about. The minister, who was the chief guest, also spoke about the need for a college. And then after that, the college, the registration came, easily. That's how we got. Anyway, we worked, my colleagues, Dr. Munnim, there were the two people first, three of us to begin with, then Najib, Adil, Mizna, Habba briefly, and this happened. And so immediately after the registration.
So it started in a very humble way,
yes,
right? In the apartment in one of the house.
We were in Majidi Mago. Yes. He gave us the name of the house. Chairman had three floors for that from there. And we used these 3 floors for that. Then when in the following year, we had an encounter again, happy encounter, we never thought about, but we had an encounter with Open University Malaysia. The delegation of Open University was in Malay, and a friend of mine asked me, would you like to meet them in Nasandra? They are staying in Nasandra. Would you like come and have breakfast with them? So I think I went along with some of my colleagues, and then we were discussing about collaboration. That is when we started the collaboration, and that was 2008 to early 2008, and they invited us to Malaysia, Open University Malaysia, to Malaysia. There we agreed on the collaboration terms and the courses we start to begin to take up. And that was the time when, during that time, Maldives, we had the Maldives National University had a degree program in Dibay.
Was it called Maldives?
It was called Maldives College of Higher Education.
All right. Yeah. University was not
the university at that time, but they had Dibay language degree, and Islamic, what is now Islamic University, but those was Mahadrat. They had a program on Sharia law, and that's basically then called Maldives College of Higher Education. They had another program on business management, a degree program in collaboration with university from I think Malaysia, Australia or New Zealand. They had a program, but that was not so successful at that time, and certainly no master's degree here.
Yes.
So we started with business management, first degree in business management, information technology, education management, and so on. With these we started, and people were so eager to do a degree in this business, information technology, education, and people came in large numbers, And then the following, after another one semester later, we started masters, information technology, education, and business. Master, you see, then you can't even believe the number of people, so many young people who have done first degree, they were looking for an opportunity to their master's program. All of them came, and their space was not enough that time to cater for the demand of the people for higher education. This, our college, the degree programs, created the momentum in higher education. Actually, the number of people who were coming for higher education, this created the momentum. The national university, then it was national university, and they were forced to work harder than they were before.
So you set the bar for
yeah,
them.
that's right. And then
Yeah.
and not only that, yes, yes, the private, we gave confidence to private. They were doing diploma program, the diploma, and then they also got the confidence. Oh, if we could also do degree programs. That is how everyone started their degree programs. That's the creative. But then what we did was emphasize quality. Right from the beginning, quality was one of our main pillar.
In that very closely, yeah.
So even now we maintain that.
Yeah.
That is the how we started. And then I was said the number of the people, the number of students coming for it, the place was not sufficient. Rohingya 2 floors, 3 floors we got additional floor, 3 floors was not floors were not sufficient. What this is again that where luck comes.
Yeah.
It was God's grace. There was announcement by Invest Maldives or Ministry of Education that this land, the land right we are now, we have QI camps right now, that we were invited to, not only we, but everyone, people were invited to Invest Maldives. There was an office called Invest Maldives, and the university was, this land was called the higher secondary CHECNX. CHENS. Then we submitted the proposal.
Basically, that was to form
school and
college.
The government's need was school. This is the CHECNX. Their need higher secondary school.
Yeah.
But then we proposed higher secondary and the college, higher education. And then they proposed, we won the proposal. And then this one. So within a short period, I think within few months, actually 4 or 5 months, the status of what we were we still have now. We have got that. We are now doing the drawings, so you can see the status at that time. And Honorable Qasim Ibrahim, the chairman, he said stop everything and then invest on this. So now we started working, and the construction was fairly reasonable. It was complete within few months, and we were able to move in here. And the numbers, yes, I can't even believe myself. The number of students who came. If you come at about 6 o'clock here, you see students moving. Some people are coming, some people are going away after their program. So much. The momentum,
Why is that? Is it because of the hungerness people had for quality education?
No, yes, you know that how much, see how many, those days when we didn't have any opportunity, people traveled abroad to India and other countries, Egypt, India, Pakistan, how people train. Even our Islamic minister was trained to begin with in Pakistan, I think.
Yes.
And then later on he went to Egypt and so on.
I mean, most of them.
No, it's Medina over there. So, the hunger was there, but no opportunity. And then we opened the opportunity. This gave the people the confidence to the people, and people started coming in large numbers. And we are the quality, but however was now what is important here is the team.
Yeah.
Our team. I mentioned the names before.
Yes.
Nuha, of course, left for Australia for her studies. But then Mizna also, she has left. Otherwise, we are all here together. And the teamwork, the ability to work as a team, achieve incredible. What is incredible, we able to. And then, of course, we are now
almost achieving something which was almost impossible.
Impossible. Right? Now, international ranking, and all that we are working very hard. Collaboration, accreditation.
What is that one thing in your career now when you have learned which is apart from the teamwork you have mentioned just now, apart from that, what is the most important thing which somebody need to consider to be successful?
No, for you, of course, it is your own discipline and your desire to be successful, to make a change in the life of other people, to make a change in the life. And then also, at the same time, to believe in people. You got to believe in people. You got to empower people. Ask the people, what is it that you want? It's not for employment. It's not for a salary or pay, but it is for the desire to give something to the people.
To the people.
The desire to give something. And as you have been saying, desire to keep on working, unretiring.
Yes. This is
What is it? What is it that you can give to the people? We ask the young people, what is it that you want to give to the people? And we give them encouragement.
So basically, you are. I can see that your style of leadership is more of a servant leadership, where you serve others for them to serve others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is, empowering. And before that, actually, you got to understand people. You had to understand people, the talent. You had to exploit their talent and keep on developing their talent so that they become leaders themselves.
Yeah.
And we have seen.
I think Villa College is
if you come to Villa College, you see such this.
Exactly. Dr. Anwar, this is your story has been very fascinating, and I think I'm glad that I'm able to sit and have this conversation with you today. Coming back to the theme of my podcast and my the work which I'm currently focusing on, which you already mentioned about becoming unretirable. I see you someone who is kind of at the epitome of becoming unretirable. You are at later years of your life, but still you are serving the community, driving your passion. And how do you do this? What drives you?
First of all, it is the passion. Yeah. I must admit, it is the passion that you have for the people. To begin with, the disadvantage. From my young days, disadvantaged people, what they lack and what some others had.
So you want to bridge the gap.
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. Even in schools, I told school, Maldives school, to bridge the gap. To make sure that they are no worse than us. Yeah. You have to believe in those students. They are no worse than the students in the best schools, rather where schools have all the facilities, from good teachers, resources, and so on. That is the bridge, and the passion for the people. You can do it you can't do this unless you have a desire to work for the desire.
A purpose.
Yes. And then during the time I was in the Ministry of Education, I was able to see what was happening. So the policy, bottom-up policy, it was not dictated from top. We created that moment. Actually, AWT and some of the schools in the islands, we came to a level where we have to, high positions should accept that this is possible. Those days it was not, people did not believe that it can happen.
100% agree with you, and I have to personally thank you and be grateful because of your efforts at Ministry of Education at that time. I was able to do all the way back in my island in Formula, and we were one of the, I think, we were the second batch to actually complete all the wells in the theaters.
Formula, you must recognize it is Zahir sir. Yeah, the government policy at that time was, secondary education should be through regional schools. So the first regional school came to Addo, Southern Secondary Schools. That is where the Southern Atolls children were supposed to get secondary education. But then minister was in charge, of course, Zarsan was in charge, Honorable Zarsan was in charge, and then Southern Secondary School was in Kurdufut. That is where the Northern Atolls children should go for second. The third one, the center one, was not finalized for whatever reason. Several competing islands. And then the government was not able to decide which island should have the third region. But then the one who broke that is the Honorable Zahir said. Before actually Southern Secondary came, whilst the construction was going on, while everything was going, Zahir Sen established started secondary education formula. And also, he didn't want to do it only to formula and also southern senior education side, both. Where the secondary children would come to southern secondary school. That is for formula. I think everyone has to be really acknowledge.
It's amazing how the world comes together. Your current CEO, Dr. Ali Najib, is actually one of my classmates from A-level schools.
Yeah.
He was among our batch of all the students who actually completed school at where you started. So this is how the world comes together, right?
Yes.
So, Dr. Anwar, if you have to give advice to someone who is at their mid-career, like when you were at this education ministry or at that age, if someone who is rather not thinking about retirement, I think this is one of the reasons why I started writing on this topic about becoming unretirable is because a lot of people don't think about their retirement or think about what they can continue doing after they retire or they stop working normally. What is the advice you would give to that? What they need to do or consider?
Think I think Japanese philosophy that is the happiness of being busy all the time. The happiness
of doing something.
Yeah, you keep on working. So the happiness of being busy all the time. That is one. And then self discipline. Self discipline. You want to do it, you do it.
Don't wait for somebody else.
Don't wait. You can't wait for somebody else to do anything. Now, in all these developments, if we had waited, for example, for teachers to the islands, wait until the government provides the teachers to each and every island. We couldn't wait because we had to make demands. And of course, you had to keep on. Now, when I was in Ministry of Education, I realized that I could not be here with this qualification. I can't be a leader. I thought certainly I had to have a PhD, highest possible qualification to be. So in order to be the leader you want, otherwise you can be easily replaced. I didn't want to be replaced. So I went to do a PhD in Bristol. I did actually Doctor of Education. And I liked it because I want to be called Doctor of Education. So that's why. So you had to make sure that you have the right qualification for that. Okay, you can be I could have been working in the Ministry of Education at the same pace, but then without the qualification, I can be easily replaced. So that is one thing. You had to
so basically
professional development. Now, right now, of course, we have opportunity conferences. You got to make sure you attend the conferences. You interact with the scholars, the leaders in education, and also your collaboration with them. By collaboration, we learn. By meeting discussions, we learn, and by attending conferences here. So you make sure that you have, and then not just attend conferences. Keep on thinking about it. You got to think. Of course, these are now the recent conferences. AI is one of the hot topics.
Yes.
So you have to be up, in par with them.
What are you doing to?
This college is very one of the top, I think, on using AI. So we have a policy. Now we have created a policy, so our people should be working. Of course, it is at the initial stage, but we will, inshallah, be developing.
What else? How important it is I hear from some of your colleagues and friends that you are also very keen about the faith aspect of life. How important is faith to align the purpose and the passion of someone?
Critical. Without faith, there is no... the faith gives you the strength to go. Your desire you achieve something. Without faith, where do you go? So you got to have a faith. It gives you strength. It gives the vision. Then also it gives you it gives you it puts you in the right ambition. Faith is very important.
Wonderful.
So I am very passionate about faith. As you said, I want to give my best. And then believe in Almighty. Now, and let people also believe.
And you're still learning the meanings of the...
Oh, yes. I'm memorizing Quran.
Yes.
I try not only just memorizing, but memorizing with understanding. Memorizing
That's
with
wonderful.
understanding.
Incredible.
A lot of work, but you enjoy the work. What's good about Quran is it's a companion.
Yes.
You can't be alone, lonely. You can't be lonely with Quran. You start reading, and then you understand understand Quran means so much in it. So it's boundless.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Anwar. This has been an incredible discussion. There are so many nuggets of wisdom and insights we can, as young people, we can get, and also for the generations to come. I think you taught us a lot about the history of Maldives. You made it us visualize our childhood, actually. So thank you very much for that. On the closing note, what will be the wisdom you have acquired over the years, which you like to share with our audience and especially the next generation youngsters?
It is, I tell you, as I said earlier, as your theme is two of your wisdom, and then you said unretirable. Unretirable. These are two key elements. If you talk to middle class, or rather the reasonably mature people, you talk of these things are unretirable. Why should you be thinking of retiring, not working?
Yeah.
You got to work. You got to give something to the people. Always the pleasure of giving something to other people,
Yes.
to the society, to your country. That has to be one. Now, if you think, when you do this, you acknowledge by the people. And yes, you can't believe when we meet young people, they say, sir, I am one of your students and I'm in this position.
Okay.
So we can share their success. We get a share of their success. Some of the students say, sir, I can remember from some of the island school places, sir, I'm in the National Defense Force. Today I got promotion as a surgeon, a sergeant. My
certainly.
position. So I won't tell you this first because you made a difference in my life.
Okay.
Make sure that you make a difference in the life of people. They will never forget it.
Wonderful. I think that is to end with a good title for our podcast as well.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anwar, and
Thank
it is really a pleasure to
Thank
have
you
this
very
chat
much
with
for
you.
having me on this program,
Yes.
on this episode, podcast.
Yeah.
This
Thank
is
you.
great, and thank you for doing this, taking this initiative.
Yeah, I
To get
want to also
Maldivian.
mention this for the benefit of our viewers as well. Some people might think when I'm interviewing first time for with a Maldivian scholar and well-respected personality, why am I talking? Why we are talking in English? This might be a question people might ask. Actually, it is because I want to reach a wider audience. I want to take the Maldives story even
Beyond
borders of Maldives, and showcase the world that the Maldives is also not only the beautiful beaches and
There
the
are other things.
underwater pictures which they see, but there are other incredible people which makes Maldives a Maldives.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for this initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For our viewers, until we come back next time, don't forget to serve and don't forget to make a difference in other people's lives every single day, and keep doing it and make that your unretirable theme and aim to serve the community and to serve other people, as Dr. Amwar has said. Until we come back, don't forget to be awesome and don't forget to be unretirable. Thank you.
Thank you very much.